Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to yet another edition of the Coach's Corner. Joining me again is the coach, Ian Bain, and we're coming to you live from the Rail Republic House here in Franklin, Massachusetts. Come on down here every Wednesday night, watch us film the show. Come down Fridays before every home game and do a little tailgating before you go up to Paisani Field. And come down just anytime and meet some good people and hang out and have some fun. All right, Coach, so it seems like it's been a whole offseason since we've been back. We had a bye week and then scheduling difficulties between both of us, but we're back here. So we'll touch upon the Attleboro game real quick. I have to say, in the 7 years we've been doing this, or my kids have been playing there, that was one of the most complete all-around aspects game I've ever seen.
Yeah, it really was, and coming out of the bye, you never really know totally what to expect, and I think Attleboro is a good team. They've shown time and time again that they're a very good team. They were tied with Taunton in the fourth quarter, I think, last week. So obviously they got a lot of talent, and but yeah, we seemed to do it in all three phases. Defense was really lights out, good pass rush, created some takeaways, didn't give up a lot on the ground or in the air. Offensively, we were about as efficient as we've been, and I think we blocked a kick, a little bit of pressure forced us a snap over ahead, and our return game was really strong too. So yeah, not a lot of negatives on the sheet after that game.
So then you come out of such a good win like that, and then you have a week of practice, and you're getting ready for Milford. And I don't want to say we laid an egg against Milford, but they came in and they pretty much forced the issue all along.
Yeah, I mean, it was 28-24 in the fourth quarter, so I don't think we laid an egg. We could have finished better.
Definitely not.
Could have played better, coached better at the end. But, I mean, I think, too, their style of play, we were never able to get them out of that style of play. We knew kind of their ground and pound was going to be a lot to sustain for 4 quarters, as it is with any team. If you can have your way running the football and play with a lead, that can be a tough recipe to defeat. So we needed to get a lead. We never got that lead. We played back and forth, but we never got them out of their style, never got them uncomfortable. And and at the end, obviously, we're trying to do a couple things to maybe, because time is not on our side. So the final score, I don't think, is indicative of how the game really was. But ultimately, we lost, and now we move on.
When you can't get somebody out of their game, I mean, Milford was running the ball at will. Is there any adjustment you can make to that during the game, or is that just something you just say you lick your wounds and say, all right, we got to do better next week at approaching it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything wrong from a scheme or a system standpoint, but I think that sometimes there are just matchups that aren't advantageous as much as we'd like, and obviously there's ways to get around that. We did force them to punt on the first drive. Offensively, we didn't take advantage of that. We got a stop on their second drive. Offensively, we didn't take advantage of that. So we had 2 opportunities to maybe get them to have to abandon their game plan. We never did. And ultimately, I think if it had gone the other way and we were able to enforce our will, then all of a sudden the styles play more to your favor. But obviously in every game there's matchups that are good for you. There are matchups that are bad for you, styles that are good, styles that are bad. And obviously when you see something that isn't good or in your favor, you've got to try to make them play left-handed, and we just never could do that. And a lot of people to blame in it, but obviously the first person is me. First finger gets pointed at me. So, we'll learn from that, and we got to do better next time.
Now, so when you come off 2 games like that, you're such a high on Attleboro and a little lower on Milford, and you're going into the playoffs now. Do you know the identity of your team at this point? Are you still searching for that identity, or do you know what kind of team you got?
I know what kind of identity we have, and I think I don't believe that losing is good for you or anything like that. Sometimes people say, it's good to get a loss out of the way or something like that. I don't agree with that, but I also agree with playoffs is a whole nother animal. Losing sucks. I hate it more than anything. But at the same time, now we're looking at the playoffs, and unfortunately, in every game there's a winner and there's a loser, and I don't think we play awful football. I think we didn't play our best, for sure, and we made some mistakes, but we also lost to a really good team. And, if we spend too much time I think if we came out and we lost 42-0 and we couldn't line up right and we made a million mistakes and we weren't trying hard, giving great effort, or weren't locked in, then I'd be worried. Then I'd be like, we don't have an identity. But I think our identity is still who we've been all year. When we play a great team like Milford. You got to be perfect. We weren't perfect, but I think that we know exactly who we are, and we are who we want to be. And when we play our best football, I think we can beat anybody.
So the playoff schedules come out. We're number one in Division One. A lot of people saying, "Oh, well, they lost to a Division Two and a Division Four." What I don't think people comprehend is that they're those divisions because of their school size,
right?
Not because they're bad teams.
Yeah, like if we had a Super 8, I think Milford and Duxbury would be in the discussion of, are they a Super 8 caliber team?
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair discussion and point.
Absolutely. But in this day and age of social media now, how do you keep, I'll take it back to last year when we went in on such a, people were telling us, or telling the boys on Twitter and this and that, you guys are a fantastic team, phenomenal team. How do you keep them from stop reading those press conferences? And at the same time, stop like a team like this year where they're going in as number one, but people are saying they shouldn't be number one.
Yeah.
How do you level that out and keep them off social media?
Well, I may have sent some of those clips and some of those clippings to our players.
But there's a lot of trolls out there.
To remind them that, hey, nobody believes in you, and it's kind of nice to be back in the underdog role again. I think we relish that. I think we're at our best when we're at the underdog. I think it's important for our team to also realize that, it's us against everybody else. Nobody's going to give you anything. I certainly think we're a program that's respected. I don't think people, disrespect our program. I don't think people think we stink. But at the same time, it's always good to get a little fire, get a little, not that you should ever have to have more purpose, but a little bit more incentive to go prove people wrong and to kind of get that back. So, we're fine with it. We've kind of been always sort of that team that's sort of fought an image of, are we taken seriously? Or do we have a place at the big table? I think we earned that, and we earned a lot of respect last year. But at the same time, I'm glad we're the number one seed. I'm not going to apologize for that. I don't care. I know that we're probably not on paper the best Division I team in a lot of people's minds.
But you know what? I look at all those MIA numbers are all over the place, and I have no idea what half of them mean. But the one I do know what means is strength of schedule, and we're very high on strength of schedule.
And that's done on purpose. A little bit of luck goes into that. Obviously, the teams we play have to go out and win their games,
sure.
But it's done on purpose. And but anyways, it's just we're the number one seed. That's awesome, but it doesn't mean anything, until we go win football games. And all it is a seeding now, and everybody sees who you got, and we gotta take care of Friday before we can even think about who's the next matchup and who's in our bracket and where might this game be and what day and what time. It's like if we're not 100% locked into Weymouth. And I'll tell you, Weymouth, and I know you're probably going to ask about Weymouth, but the team that reminds me a lot of where we were in 2017, 2018, right on the cusp of sort of making that noise and making a name for themselves. So that's all we can focus on. And if people need to remind us that we don't belong, then we've always seen ourselves as outsiders in the league and in the newspapers and in the media's eye. We rarely get picked, and that's that's the way we like it and prefer it.
So we play Weymouth Friday night, and before we get into Weymouth, how do you handle playing a team that you don't know anything about?
Yeah.
Is there a general fund or general location where you can just go pull tape? Can they go and pull your tape? How do you game plan for a team you know nothing about?
Yeah. Well, first, I think every coach in the state has connections.
Sure.
Everybody's going to reach out to this buddy, that buddy. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing. In our league, we have an open library, so there is no asking for film. It's all in there.
But that's just the hockey.
Yeah, that's just in the league.
Right.
So, I've never. Anytime anybody's asked me for a film, I just always give them whatever they want. I'd rather get more film. I think it rewards, good coaches. But I know that everybody that we're going to play is going to have every film of ours. We're probably going to get every film of everybody we play. I guess when there's a team that's unfamiliar, I think it's always good to try to watch if they have cable access, a game or two on cable access, hear a little bit about what the announcers are saying. I think some places like, the Attleboro cable access guy does an amazing job.
Sure.
It's like watching a pro game.
Yeah, he does fantastic.
So there's some cable access people that are really on the money with, so you can get some information from that. I think Franklin does a terrific job too. So I'm sure they're looking at the same things we're looking at, and he's just, but I think there's Sean McVay had said something when they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. that there is such a thing as over-preparing. And he was going back to like years prior and the first week of the season. He's like, we got so caught up in that too. We maybe didn't coach our guys as good, didn't focus on the most recent history as well. Because the more data you enter into that pool, like this is where the analytics just always, like, they're nice and they're not nice. Like, you water that data down sometimes too, and it's like, well, what about the last 3 games? What have they been doing well lately? And does that cancel when you enter in more depth of information and more breadth, I guess? And
that's what what I preach at the youth football level when we were watching tape as we went into the playoffs last week. You're at week 9.
Yeah.
They are who they are.
Right.
They may come up with a gimmick or something like that, but they're not going to change their entire offense around.
No, and again, what have they been doing recently that's worked well? They just had a big win over Brookline. They've played some really good games on their schedule, some really good teams on their schedule. So what did they do well against those teams? What did those teams do well against them? We kind of have a sort of a system of sort of, we go through, this. We look at certain things, try to get a good vantage point of who they are without overdoing it. I think you can just dilute the information by doing too much.
Sure.
We want to see it all, but kind of where you focus. So, but it is a lot of work, especially when you don't get your opponent officially till 10 a.m. on Monday. Luckily, we kind of knew. It's kind of like last year. We sort of prioritized it. We thought Weymouth would be the team we played, and I know they thought they were going to play us. And then, but we watched some Lynn Classical film, we watched some Braintree film, we had some Shrewsbury film. We watched a little bit on each game, had some basic notes ready to go. So no matter what, we were prepared on Monday, and we were definitely prepared, so there's no excuses. But, then I guess the difference is we're digging our teeth in a little bit more Monday night and into Tuesday morning. So I think, we're where we need to be. There's always more work to do, but I feel like we're in a good place.
And what you say Weymouth reminds you a lot of us a few years back. Why is that?
You can just see the way their kids play, and I think they're a terrific team. So I don't want to sound like but I thought we were a great team. It didn't reflect in our record, I guess. If you remember 2017, we were in all these close games, and we lost to KP on a last-second field goal. We lost to Mansfield by 1. We were either leading or within a score of every game at halftime. But I can see the way their kids play, and I don't know their coach, and I don't know their staff, but like the way their kids play so hard and just so. They go, they're bought in. Whereas, like, there's some teams and films that we watch with kids, and it's like, you could tell they're just kind of out there. They don't have the same energy. This team flies, and I can tell this is a team that if you let them, they're going to make you pay. And they're well coached, and you can just see it. So, and I think they're kind of young, too, just from the little bit. Again, I might not know as much as I wish I knew about every single kid on the roster, but it seems like there's a lot of kids that'll be back. And again, that 2017 team that we had a lot of younger kids, a lot of kids that were making a name for themselves. So you can see that. So I respect that a lot, and I think also it's kind of scary too, because we've been there, and I always felt like we could beat anybody when we had that team with young guys like McClaney and Len, and obviously Novi pulling the trigger. We had some dudes all over. They were just young kids, but they were giving everything they had to make a name and build their own program, and you could see that with Weymouth.
Why the 6 o'clock start?
I don't know. A lot of teams were doing it. I guess it's just a thing.
I guess it makes it harder on Weymouth. They'll leave a little earlier.
I think part of it too is, as you get to this time of year, it's harder to get people to work games.
Sure.
And obviously you need to staff the games. And sometimes that's some stuff that we don't always think of is, you need to have a small army of workers to be in the stands and be at the gates. And sometimes it might be easier to entice somebody to work from 6 to 8:30 than 7 to 9:30, and I know that maybe isn't what we always think about, but we need to make sure that we have a properly staffed event, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the real ones from Rattle City come out and support us and be positive for Franklin, and because we need you, we need Rattle City, but we need them loud and proud for us. And
somebody at this table took a shot at them Friday night. I don't know which one, but maybe
I may have as well.
Yeah.
But that's all right. We're going to bounce back, we're going to learn, and we're going to have a great crowd, I know it.
Yeah, I mean, it drives me up the wall to see fans leave. I had the privilege of Don Brown coming to one of our youth games a couple of weeks ago, and I said to him, Coach, I went to your tailgate, and I said it amazes me that everybody leaves before they go in, and I said, how do you stop that? He said, you got to win. I said, but we have won here, so.
No,
I don't know.
It's true, but I believe in Rowdy City, and I believe that they believe in us, and we're going to have a great game on Friday. So I'll see you guys there.
We'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was a little cold. I don't want, in no way am I saying anything looking down the road or saying we're going to win. The matchup, if you make it to the semifinals, will be either against possibly a Springfield Central or a Zavarian, which my whole point on that is not, who's right. My whole point is those were two of the greatest playoff games I've watched since you've been here.
Yeah.
Last year and then the year we went to overtime with Zavarian. What is one of your favorite games that you've coached at here? 7 years now.
Favorite game that I ever coached here?
KP Thanksgiving last year.
That's a really good question. I think there's some obvious answers. I think there's some not so obvious answers. Honestly, I was talking, I talked to a lot of our coaches that are with us, obviously, and former coaches. I think there's a few in those first couple years just because everything we were doing was so organic. And it might even be a loss, to tell you the truth. And just, and I think that's the great thing about high school football, and that's what brings us coming back to coach it and watch it, is that like when the teams are bought in, and that's why I say Weymouth, man, we gotta really be ready Friday, because I think of that 2017 team, and probably when we were over at Milford and we won the second game of the year over there, and it was a lot like the year before. We might have even been down early. We didn't play it particularly well, and I think at any point in that game we could have easily been like, here we go again. We're not where we need to be. And we came back out in the second half. We didn't change anything. We just went down the field, ran our stuff, and we got out of there with the win. It was the first win of the season, but you could see us turning the corner. And like obviously that Mansfield game in the rain was a great one that year. The KP game where we lost on the last second field goal was a great one. And we just played a lot of really good games. So I don't know that I have a favorite, but I think when you're seeing the fruits of your work start to really pay off, and really the kids are rounding corners, the kids are improving, and it's been nice to win the last couple years. We've been on the upside of things, and sometimes you forget everything it took to get here. And winning is never not fun, but it's really fun when the kids see their work pay off. So I could really see that in those years. Not that our kids now don't feel that way too, but it's just I don't know. It was, I guess, maybe more of a surprise back then to win. Now it's more expected. So those were always really fun games to coach in. And also, I don't think I was a great coach. I'm still not a great coach, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm a much better coach right now than I was in those years, and our staff kind of coming together too and figuring it out. Those were a lot of fun.
All right, so we start our march to the playoffs on Friday night at 6 o'clock. Weymouth comes to town. Bring your A-game fans. Stay the whole game. And let's get out of there with a W and start the march on to, we're trying to get to our third semifinal in a row and possibly kick it to the Super Bowl. It all starts Friday night with Weymouth. For the coach, Ian Bain, my name's Kevin Papa. We're coming to you again from the Railroad Republic House. We'll see you again next week on the Coach's Corner.